This is a picture of Kelsey Martin's ghost in the graveyard that I took. And this came out in October '71, and this is the center spread. So the first time I heard about the thing being in the magazine, I didn't get any call or mail from the magazine. I went to the newsstand and boom, I was looking up there on the shelves and some picture looked a little familiar, you know, and I saw this, I took it out and I practically fainted on the spot. That was the way that I was able to make a living. After a couple of years of doing this freelance, I went to work for Custom Chopper magazine in California, and I moved out there, and I worked for them for about a year, and then I went over and moved over to Easy Riders, and I worked for them for about a year on staff. But after that, I decided I wanted to go back home to Massachusetts because it was better for this area to have me back here to take pictures than for me to be out there in California where they already had a bunch of people taking pictures. You know, in general, I had a great time doing it. The people that I met were, you know, really down to earth, kind of, you meet all sorts of personalities, but, you know, we all had something in common, so that really made things work pretty well. The way the custom motorcycle world has changed is due a lot to computers. Computers have really changed life in general, and of course that includes custom motorcycle building, the culture, the scene, etc. I think there has been and always will be a very small group of very dedicated super custom bike builders, and this ranges all the way from, you know, guys who are building really retro stuff that's really authentic to the way it was done in the 50s and 60s, to what I call ultra customs, which is things like the Peterson Museum has a show on called The Custom Revolution, and there's some really fantastic sort of alternative custom styled bikes there. Ian Barry of Falcon Motorcycles does that kind of thing. Maxwell Hazan. These are guys building ultra customs. Another name I'd mention is Ziller's Custom Garage in Russia. And that's just as a side note. What has happened is that the custom bike building environment has gone worldwide. And people all over the world now are building motorcycles that are special purpose and custom built. And the reason for that is communication has gotten much better. I mean, you now have the internet, you have social media, you have email. So it's information can get exchanged much faster, much easier. In general, the internet has made it an awful lot easier for people to build bikes because they can go online, find parts, and go on YouTube, find videos on how to install a part. So you have the internet and social media sort of replacing what was the killer app in the 70s, which was the magazine. I think the other thing that happened around the year 2000 is you had cable television getting involved. There have been several programs on cable that I think in their own way have contributed to the sport. The Biker Build-Off and American Chopper. I think that the Tuttles, Paul Tuttle Sr. and Paul Tuttle Jr. have kind of taken this thing in a different direction. And it's controversial because they've shown a lot of their family squabbles on television, but I think it's created a huge amount of interest. I think they have built some really interesting theme bikes. I think that's good for the sport because it gets companies interested in the idea that they could build a motorcycle as a promotional tool. The advancement in photographic technology makes it possible for many, many more people to take really good pictures. It does make it easier for pictures to be disseminated, because as you noted, your smartphone has a camera that's probably would have been professional quality 15 years ago. You still have to be careful about lighting and backgrounds, even with a modern camera, and so there's a ability for people to take better pictures, and that I think is good for the business, because it just allows the dissemination of more information. You can go online and see a particular exhaust pipe setup you like and figure out how to contact the person who made it and have it made. And these are the kind of things in the old days would have taken weeks or months to do. If it wasn't for all the talent and all the interest, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did. And I have to credit, so many different people for giving me the opportunity to report on what they did. If you're looking at motorcycle builders, certainly Dean Lanza, Joe Alphabet back in the 50s, Arlen Ness of San Leandro, California, was very prominent in the motorcycle building business for many, many years, and kind of pioneered the idea of a theme bike. I remember he did a bike based on a 57 Chevy. It even had the tail fins at the back. I think more recently, the group of people who contribute to the Born Free motorcycle show, I mentioned Ryan Grossman and Hawk Lashy. Dave Perowitz, I think, has done a lot for the custom bike building industry. And then if you look at media, Tom McMullen, Lou Kimsey, Ed Big Daddy Roth. I think the outlaw motorcycle clubs contributed a lot in the early days, and there's many, many people involved, because there's so many different aspects of this business. And as things have gotten more diverse, you have all sorts of different people contributing. Cliff Voss and Ben Hardy worked on the movie Easy Rider. They were certainly people I would have in my Hall of Fame. Sugar Bear, who built a very long and specialized Springer with really, really large ornate rockers. It's kind of his trademark. Another spot in my Hall of Fame would go to Lou Falsigno. I met him in Connecticut in 1972 and photographed his custom Sportster for Easy Riders magazine. It had a very long front end, and when Lou was a pioneer in that type of bike in the East Coast region. Lou would also get in because he's a long-term survivor. He is still building actively custom bikes down in Fort Pierce, Florida, under the name of C&L Hog Shop. Custom-built motorcycles is a big subject. There are a lot of moving parts. It's had a really rich, complicated history, and it's been going on since the 1920s, really. I'm just a bystander. I'm really not really a big participant in the thing. I'm more of a reporter for the thing. And in some ways, I'm a newbie. I mean, because if you're looking at the real well springs of custom bike building, I mean, it goes back a long way. And you had different waves of things happening, After World War II, you had the British invasion, which was a lot of British motorcycle manufacturers began to export their bikes to the USA. And then you have the custom builders of the 50s and 60s. And you have people like Steve Stone, Kelsey Martin, to name a few. These people have persisted in the business for a very, very long time. I think it is, at its heart, there'll always be these core guys who do a lot of their own work and build customs, everything from mild bobbers to, amazing stuff that you'll see at Born Free. But I do think there's a lot more diversity in the scene than there was in the 50s and 60s. You've got different segments of the movement. You've got like a whole big movement of what they call the bagger motorcycle, which is not a chopper, but it's a very customized bike in its own way. And so I think that the modern scene has got a lot of moving parts to it. It's worldwide, that's a new thing. 5 decades of development in the technology, so you have more people building really radical motorcycles than was done in the chopper craze. The chopper craze was dominated by kind of a cookbook for a custom bike. Now you have all sorts of different styles, and it makes, I think, for a much richer experience.
As always, thanks again for watching. Hope you learned something. We want to thank Sandy again for sitting down and talking to us. That was an awesome interview. And that's a wrap for season 1. Stay tuned, season 2 coming soon.